forced by fate and haughty heroes' unrelenting hate. Expelled in exile, left my father's shore. I bore long labors, both by sea and land, and in that Trojan War, all this before I won the Latin realm, and both the glorious and destined town. Rome! If any nation deserves the privilege of claiming a divine ancestry, that nation is our own. When we declare that Mars himself was our first parent and father of Romulus, the man who founded our city, all the nations of the world might as well accept it as readily as they accept Rome's imperial dominion. Good afternoon. Welcome to famous men of Rome. Please allow me, the legendary hero and me, the famous historian living, to take you on a journey in 3 parts. We will tread through the age of kings, the glory of the Republic, and the power of the Western Empire. Please enjoy the performance.
Great things. Here you see my racetrack, the Circus Maximus.
After King Tarquin, a man named Servius Tullius ruled Rome with goodness and gentleness. But a son of King Tarquin plotted against Servius Tullius. His name was Tarquin the Proud.
This impostor, Servius Tullius, will not stand in my way any longer. I shall be king over his dead body.
And so Tarquin did as he said. Servius Tullius was killed. Tarquin the Proud became king. Tarquin the Proud would be the last king of Rome because he was such a cruel tyrant. One of his sons, named Sextus, insulted a young lady of the royal court named Lucretia. She was so ashamed that she plunged a dagger into her heart. At this outrage, a leader rose to defy the tyranny of Sextus and Tarquin the Proud. His name was Junius Brutus.
By this girl's blood, none more chaste till a tyrant wronged her. And by the gods, I swear, with sword and fire, whatever else can lend strength to my arm, I will pursue Lucius Tarquinius the Proud, and his wicked wife and all his children, and never again will I let them nor any man be king in Rome. We will not suffer one man to rule Rome. Down with Tarquin the tyrant!
No more kings! No more kings! No more kings!
Junius Brutus was given as splendid a funeral as those early days of the Republic could afford. But an even greater tribute to him was the nation's sorrow, of which the most poignant expression was given by the women of Rome, who mourned for him for a year as a father. It was their special tribute to a fierce championship of a woman's honor.
Thus the age of kings ended. The people would suffer no single man to rule Rome. Instead, they put their faith in the rule of the Senate. But Rome's outcasted King Tarquin would not go down without a fight. He joined forces with the king of Clusium, Lars Porsena, to try to take back his throne. Porsena marched from Rome with his army, but there encountered some difficulty.
The only way for the Tuscans to enter our city is by crossing the South Bridge. Consul, what should we do? We must cut down the bridge. It is the only way to save our city. As many you can, begin dismantling the bridge. The Etruscans are in sight. We are running out of time. If only someone could hold them off while we finish tearing down the bridge. Who could do that? A whole army against one man? Consul, give me 2 good men to help me, and I will defend the bridge and hold the enemy at bay. 3 men against that thousands? It easily be 3 Romans. The city will be ours. Spirited, Titus, bridge is about to fall. So back to the other side, but I stay and defend it. The bridge is down, Horatius! Tiber, to whom the Romans pray. A Roman's life, a Roman's arms. Take thou in charge this day. So he spake, and speaking sheathed the good sword by his side, and with his harness on his back, plunged headlong in the tide. When I emerged on dry earth, the leaders of Rome were there to greet me. And even Lars Porcena's prayers for my safety were answered. With shouts and clapping and leaping, I returned to my home at the river gate, borne on the shoulders of the crowd.
Horatius was well rewarded for his bravery and had a statue erected in his honor. Porsena decided to keep his army on the other side of the Tiber, preventing food from being sent in, thus forcing the Romans to surrender. But there was one thing Porsena had not accounted for: Gaius Mucius.
I've devised a way to save our city. I'm going to march right into the Etruscan camp, find Porsena, and kill him. That should put an end to this siege.
Here's your pay. Go tell your troops to prepare for guard duty at the river. Distribute this money among your men and report back to me.
Oh no, he's killed the secretary!
Who are you? Why have you done this?
I am a Roman citizen. I've come here to kill you because you are an enemy of Rome. I've failed, but others are coming who will not fail. Your life will be in constant danger, Lars Forstuna, and you'll one day be killed when you least expect it.
I shall burn you to death if you do not at once tell me all of Rome's plans to kill me.
Behold how little we Romans care for pain ways to defend our country.
I am amazed. This man's heart is fearless and cannot be bound. Set him free.
In return for your kindness, I now tell you of my own free will that I will not under threat of punishment. Now that 300 young Roman men have pledged an oath to kill you, the lot fell first to me. I failed, but more will come until Rome is finally free.
Porcino was so frightened at these words that he immediately sent messengers to make peace. Peace did not last. War broke open with the Aequians to the east. The Romans were easily winning. However, in a feigned retreat during one battle, the Aequians lured some Roman horsemen into a narrow ravine. It was a trap. One horseman did manage to escape. He returned to Rome to inform the Senate about the dire situation.
We were following the Aequians in pursuit when they led us into a ravine. They barricaded the exits and most of the army was trapped. The Aequians are surrounding Rome's horsemen at the top of the hills. There's little grass for the horses, sparing water, and not much food. If we don't act quickly, they will die.
For a while, the Senate saw little hope, but then one senator spoke up. And so they did. Cincinnatus shall tell you the rest of the story.
When the senators came to find me, I was plowing my fields. Because Rome needed me, I left my plow and gathered faithful men for my army. Before the sun set that evening, we marched to the hills where the Romans were trapped. In the quiet stillness of dawn, we formed ranks all around the Aequians. It was now they who were trapped. They fought desperately, but in vain. Rome was victorious again. I chose to spare their lives, but not without them passing under the yoke. The joy of my countrymen was so great, they wanted to make me king. I was crowned with the laurel wreath and paraded into the city. But I knew my role, so I gave up my power and went back to farm.
When the Roman Republic was under a great threat, they appointed a dictator to have supreme power, but only for as long as it took to secure Rome's safety. Our next famous Roman is Camillus. Camillus was a great soldier and was appointed dictator in a time of great danger, but he ran into trouble on one occasion. Camillus was accused by leaders of being greedy with the spoils of war. Such a crime was very serious, and it went to trial. Seeing a trial before a tribunal as a disgrace, he chose a life of exile. As he passed out of Rome's gates, he prayed the gods would do something so terrible that the Romans would be forced to beg for his return.
My prayer was answered. Rome was invaded by the Gauls. They swooped down into Italy, defeating all of Rome's armies along the way. Most of the Romans fled in terror, leaving the city wide open for them to pillage. Meanwhile, the people that fled sought me out and begged for my return. I arrived just in time. The chief of the Gauls, Brennus, was demanding the Senate to pay him gold. And this is what I told him. We Romans defend our country not with gold, but with steel. So it's not gold that saved Rome that day, but the sword of Camillus.
The Roman Republic grew in strength and became engaged in a series of wars with the North African city of Carthage. Rome's greatest threat during these Punic Wars was from Hannibal, the great general of Carthage. He traveled thousands of miles through Hispania and over the great Italian Alps. Rome's only hope was Scipio Africanus.
When Carthage sought to conquer Rome a second time, it sent Hannibal across the Alps with wall weapons to crush our army. His brother, Hasdrubal, was the first to see my sword when I repelled him from Italia. Hannibal would also witness its cold gleam when I drove his wall up into madness. I gave this short sword, the gladius, to my fellow Romans to pierce the ranks of our enemies, as long as Rome could wield it.
The Romans began to get lazy under the protection of their armies provided them. There were even periods of peace with Carthage, but not all Romans trusted their North African rivals.
Duendo es Carthago. I'm Senator Cato, and in my opinion, Carthage must be destroyed. I felt so strongly about the destruction of Carthage that I ended every speech I gave in the Senate with these very words. Duendo es Carthago. I lived during a time when Romans were losing sight of what really mattered. We were growing fat and lazy. We spent too much money on things we didn't really need, and that was taking away from our strength as a nation. I chose to live a different life. I lived an austere life under the old frugality. I ate plain food and drank cheap wine and had very few servants. I was made senator, and with my newfound power, I fought against frivolity and waste. People do not need carriages to get around. They can walk. I levied taxes on items Romans held dear, like fancy furniture, and other non-essential items like jewelry. Duendo es Carthago. The military might of Rome grew, and with it grew the power and popularity of army generals. Leaders like Julius Caesar and Pompey the Great made alliances to solidify control of the republic.
I am the great Julius Caesar. I led armies to conquer Hispania and Gaul, and wrote about these wars in a text that would be translated for Latin school students for generations. Defend our fatherland.
And the third of people who in their own language are called Celts, but in our skulls.
I am the king of great warriors. Pompey was a great leader in my day, and I, the great Julius Caesar, made an alliance with him. But I would share power for only so long. Pompey came from nobility, the upper class, but I was a man of the people, and they loved me.
My greatest ambition was to rule Rome, only Pompey stood in my way. On one fateful day, my army waited at the edge of Italy, on the far side of the river Rubicon. Pompey denied me entrance. Either I would disband my army and give up my ambition, or I would defy Pompey and cross the river. I chose to cross the Rubicon. The die had been cast.
Caesar marched into Italy without the slightest challenge. He crossed the Rubicon, violating Roman laws which prohibited a Roman army inside its own borders. Even so, he was celebrated by the people. They took the power of the Senate and gave it to him, and that power went to his head.
All the while the Senate was planning their revenge, on the Ides of March, Caesar was in the Senate pontificating about his greatness.
So in the world 'tis furnished well with men, and men are flesh and blood and apprehensive. Yet in the number I do know but one, that unassailable holds on his rank, unshaked of motion, and that I am he. Let me a little show it.
O Caesar,
Hence wilt thou lift up Olympus? Doth not Brutus bootless kneel?
speak hence for me.
Tuberté!
Pause.
After the assassination of Julius Caesar, there was one who denounced his murders. His name was Mark Antony.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. This deed shall be avenged. We will not let Caesar's death be in vain. No, I'll use it to my advantage. It is Mark Antony who will rule Rome now. Come, let us find those Caesar's conspirators, yes, and bring them to justice.
Grayson. Like Pompey and Caesar before, Antony made an alliance with Caesar's descendant Octavius, but it would not last long.
I am Caius Julius Caesar Octavius, the great-nephew of Julius Caesar. I was destined to be Caesar's heir, and my former ally Mark Antony was not going to stop me. Our fleets were battling off the coast of Actium in Greece. Suddenly, Cleopatra, the queen of Egypt and Antony's companion, suddenly pulled her silver oars to flee. Antony chased after her, disgracefully abandoning his soldiers. I, Octavius, was now without rival. I quickly rose to supreme power as Emperor Caesar Augustus. Bringing peace and order, my reign saw the flourishing of the arts, contentment among the common people, and the birth of Christ. It was the beginning of a great Roman peace, the Pax Romana.
The emperors who succeeded Augustus were powerful and intelligent. They were only occasionally good. The moral decay of Rome is often typified by the rule of Nero. Under this evil man, the Christian church saw great persecution.
Christians, a strange lot, believing in some man called Jesus who died as their Lord, though I showed them my lordship. One night in Rome, flames went up all over the city. I could not help but be reminded of Troy and its fall, and it inspired me to sing and play my harp. Afterwards, I was blamed for starting the fire. So I had the Christians blamed. They were put to death in many ways. Some said I was cruel, some even pitied the Christians, but I never deserved what happened to me. Why, I had done so many things to bring beauty and art to Rome, but I was not appreciated. When conspirators came against me, I fled and had to fall upon my own sword. What an artist the world lost that day.
Years passed, and Rome found itself being ruled by several so-called emperors who vied for control of the empire. Constantine was one of them. On the day before a battle at the Milvian Bridge, he was praying, and God sent him a vision of a cross of light at midday with an inscription telling him, "By this
Accordingly, I called on God with earnest prayer and supplications that he would reveal to me who he was and stretch forth his right hand to help me in my present difficulties. And while I was thus praying with fervent entreaty, a most marvelous sign appeared to me from heaven. About noon, when the day was already beginning to decline, I saw with my own eyes the trophy of a cross of light in the heavens, and bearing the inscription, "By this sign you shall conquer." I myself was struck with amazement, and my whole army also, which followed me on this expedition and witnessed the miracle.
Constantine made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. By then, the empire had been divided between the east and the west, and Constantine moved his government to the east, to the city that would be named after him, Constantinople. This division of the empire, along with the new official religion, Christianity, did much to benefit the church in many ways. However, it did not prevent the west from being overrun by the Gauls.
Those who worshipped the old pagan gods blamed this new Christian religion for Rome's fall. In North Africa, the Christian bishop Augustine famously responded to this accusation. Was it Christianity's fault that Rome was sacked by the Gauls? No, Rome's own pride and immorality were the source of its troubles. That Christianity offers citizenship in the city of God, where sin is covered by Christ, where the pride of man is redeemed by the love of God.
Christianity is the religion worthy of your desires, O admirable Roman race, the progeny of Junius Brutus and Horatius, of Cato and of Augustus. Choose now what you will pursue, that your praise may not be in yourself, but in the true God, in whom is no error. Incomparably more glorious than Rome is that heavenly city, in which for victory you have truth, for dignity, holiness, for peace, felicity, and for life, eternity.